18,000.
First thing, have we had a chance to look at the minutes from January 3rd of 2023? With reorganization, board subcommittees.
Stan, I didn't get them because I was between emails and whatnot.
Thank you for taking a break if you weren't sure.
I should have said something. I was getting stuff from council that I didn't.
That probably is why.
You get hooked up on them. My county email address is up and running now, as you know, so
Yeah.
you send things to my county email address, I'll get it.
Is that where you want me to send stuff, Steve?
Yeah, please.
Okay, okay.
I'll get it anyway, but I'll get it either way, but. That way I know where to look for it when I'm missing something.
Yeah, I was man, a couple days ago, I've been sending it to you.
And that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah. This has to be advertised every year. There's your pages and names and everything. I know they have to sign it, advertise it, but do you need to? Approve it? Yep. There's something we send over there. Okay, we'll get it approved. Yep.
Tony, as a part of these minutes, then would the listing of those appointments be like an appendix to that, or have been done?
Yes.
Okay. I know we don't enunciate them by name in here. Let's see.
So they're like,
I get it.
but I did note on there, the ones that were not appointed,
Right.
there was some of them that were not appointed, and that would come later, for whatever reason. But, I mean, yes,
That's fine.
I can go back and get my notes and put them on.
I think you've got the ones in here that are by name that were outside of commissioners, our personal appointments.
Yeah.
That's the important part. Yeah. Make a motion to approve the minutes, or do you have to make that? Second. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Motion carried. I think that's my copies.
Was that the
That's what I found off this morning.
have you already had the actual copy?
We got
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Tony, what do we have for us today?
First, I had all my weekly health insurance claims.
A couple of them, actually. One of these they sent late, I guess it's because of the New Year's holiday or something, it came after the meeting had happened. So we'll have two of them today. This one is for $11,118.60. $11,118.60. That is all medical. No deductions or stop, gas or anything. All medical, $11,118.60. So typically, those claims in the first month or couple months of the year settle down a little bit. I would assume so. Yeah, it's the end of the year that gets a little bigger. But now they're all starting back in on it.
Motion approved.
Second. All right, motion carries. And next I have the other weekly health insurance claim file. And that is in the amount of $43,147.80. $43,147.80. That is $5,730.89 medical. $37,416.91 pharmacy. No stop loss or anything. Get the effect on that. Okay.
Let me see all over. So here, 780, okay.
Motion approved. Second. Motion carries. Okay. Next, our office has to advertise this every year. But as for the calendar year of 2022, this the total amount of wages, all employees and so forth, this date it has to be published. We need an official approval and vote for you guys in order for you to sign it and for us to send it over to be published. So wage certification for 2022, I guess.
Okay. Any comments on that, because we have to have that audited, everything else. Since you're the auditor, I guess you are.
Yeah, that's something we want to do with minutes, that it was approved for us to advertise and publish it.
That includes the payout for com.
Yeah, that includes all wages.
Yes.
When we paid out that comp, did we have to match everything? So,
Well, if it went through payroll, I'm sure that, I'd have that, I mean,
Percent or like that.
whatever money would come out.
So we're what, 8.7 million?
365 employees.
People in your,
Second.
people in your hiring cost.
Almost valuable resource.
Good job. Those are the only three things that I have. Treasurer Dyer will bring up his report in a few minutes, and the other couple of things that I would have had, I'm gonna let Mark, I'm gonna get back to us next week on those.
Good.
All right, very good. Yeah.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
I have just a few things today. I actually have a permit today. I know it's been a little while. This one is for BSM Group on behalf of QC Communications for MediaCom. They're installing, fiber optic, they're directional boring, putting in pipes so they can run some wiring. At 9404 North, 100 West, and they're gonna run 309 feet, just the length of that property, basically. So it already comes up to that property, they just need to run it down the property to get it in.
Is
So
it by the railroad track?
that's before the railroad track.
Township, is that? Route? That road?
Yes, thank you. And we went out and looked at it and didn't see a problem with it, so.
Good. Well, I always appreciate you looking at those first, because that way, once you bring them in, it's like, hey, you're good to go with it.
And there again, it's one of them where they need to be able to run their stuff too, as long as it's not gonna cause us an issue.
Yeah,
which, I mean, everything that gets buried in the ground is gonna be an issue at some point.
yeah.
Deal with it.
I don't know, something like that. I mean, do you look for if there's county tile or anything like that too? Or is that something that the surveyor has just looked at?
Well, no, and that's the tough thing though, because honestly, unless our guys have worked in a side ditch in the right of way somewhere, a lot of time, we're looking for catch basins. It's hard to tell where there's tiles. I mean, it really is. You know, like this one here, there's a slight side ditch there, but there's no catch basins anywhere in that stretch. They're further south. So, yeah. So no, it's hard to tell.
We're probably burying that anyhow.
Yeah, they're boring it, so.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be at least 48 inches deep,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
So one of the other things I have, this is just, it's a little bit different way of doing it than we usually did before. For our community crossings, we're getting ready to bid that out. So we got to advertise the bid in the papers. And this time basically just did, I'm going for that we put it in advertise for bids, they can get approved, whatever, to get plans and all that. And then for the Board of Commissioners, Adams County, Indiana, and then it just has my name. And then Tony needs to attest to it. It's just for the advertising, though, so we can go ahead and advertise.
No, I can't hear very good.
And I haven't heard, I mean, there's nothing that I need to say.
I forgot to tell you that gentleman that I deal with, MnDOT, he sent me that, he's like, I need his information, and I said, well, it didn't change from last year. So he sends me a list of who I got listening to sign, and I'm like, I don't know that guy, where he was looking for Earl County. So now that all taken care of.
He is looking at the kid and telling me.
I don't know, but so that way, you know, that, him knowing all the information for you, now he can start to get the paperwork rolling, and then for you to sign stuff here coming, so.
I'll ask for it, okay.
So anyhow, and then that's just that, and also I had been showing, he just needs a test that we're gonna advertise the bid. All right, you're good?
So you just need a motion for them to.
So I can advertise. Yeah. Second.
Gotcha.
Motion carries.
So the one other thing I have, and I wanted, this is something for Mark also. Down on County Road 950 South, north side of Geneva there, where they're putting a new facility. I've been approached before by some residents about possibly lowering the speed limit through there. I think we might have talked about it too at one time. And so there was, now that everything's approved, and I guess we're gonna go with that, it was brought up again, and I'm not sure this is my first time doing this, I'm not sure that, I know it has to come to you guys, you gotta okay it, and what all needs to be done to change the speed limit in that section of road.
Yeah, supposed to. Tim always did a speed study.
Got that. That just happened to work out that NERC had actually done one this summer, and that was part of the road they did. So I have that.
Okay, so what do they recommend?
The 85th percentile was 48 mile an hour. So they do a figure, 85th percentile comes out to 48 mile an hour, and by the Indiana regulations, you're supposed to be within 5 mile an hour of that 85th percentile. So my thinking was just take it to a 45. They're not running that fast through there normally anyhow. So if we take it to 45, you know, that from 27 to 50 at least, you'll get that at a 45.
That is a now just open.
That's 55, yeah. If it's not posted in country roads, it's 55. So,
That's all the lower you can drop it because of that hill.
no, that's what I was gonna say. No, we can go lower. That's up to you guys. So that's, like I
There's
said,
a whole residential area there and doctor's office. I would be in favor of going to 35
Okay.
from 152.
yeah, and that's fine. That's just what they recommend, you know, to drop it to.
We're talking about 150 west.
Yes.
Yes. So 150 south is 227, 150 west, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a hill there, you got residents there, you got the lake entrance.
So yeah, I've got the study done. I just figured I'd
Get that to me, and then we'd have to do an ordinance,
okay.
and then.
Is there anything, Shirley, have you ever been down there in that 150 south at all? What was going any thoughts on speed limits there, or as an officer?
I don't get that a whole lot, but I mean, like you said, there is several residents there. I'm not familiar with the business that's going in there, but I mean, I don't think 45 is all the way, I don't think, that long and 45, I think it's fine.
That and they're coming right off the highway, so they're not gonna have, right, going west, they're not gonna have that much speed anyhow, so.
Do we just need a motion? Or do you?
I'll just tell you what an ordinance put together based on that, so I can bring it back to you, and then you have to adopt the ordinance, and then we have to publish it.
We're gonna do it at 35 now?
So do we need a motion at 35 for the ordinance?
Well, no, because you'll vote on the ordinance when you vote on the ordinance, so I guess, just need to know direction from you, is that what you want?
If you tell Mark whether you want.
Yeah, basically, they let you know what speed they recommend.
I would say 30, that's my recommendation, is 35 from 150 west to 27.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
all right, so by consensus, then we'll put an ordinance together to that effect.
Yeah, I'll get you that, I'll get you a copy of that in our email to you as well.
Tony,
You and I. You want to- And that's all I have.
All right.
I don't want to take home that. You have to deal with it.
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all I have. So
Well, we're not working on our snowplows yet.
that doesn't bother me one bit. Like I said, actually, David got a couple pipe crews out. So as part of our community crossings in Lake Road and 400 West, we send our guys out and we look at all the pipes under the road. And we go in and we replace them before we pave. That way, we don't have to worry about it for another 20 years, 40 years, whatever, and we don't have to dig up brand new pavement. That's one of the worst things to do. So we've actually had 2 crews out today working, which was good, weather cooperating. They're out replacing pipes.
One more thing, you would put together a group, I don't know if it's a policy ordinance resolution for homeowners that were seeking to improve their road or get the road.
Yeah, Mark's still working on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I had somebody approach me the other day and I almost said, well, there is a policy in place, but I didn't know if.
Yeah,
that was-
it's not in place yet, but Mark's working on it, so.
So it's.
But we're working on lots right now.
Yeah, like that.
What's that?
They just need to shake their mailboxes.
If you haven't done it by now, that 50-mile-an-hour wind should have taken it,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Yeah,
When we get that ready, that'd be nice, because I've got a couple of people I'd like to present it to. So here's your route to get your road approved.
Yep.
So. Good.
that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Good. Looking at us forward.
And this Sunday.
Gotta make up for Brad.
Have lunch, I'll be back in a few minutes, guys.
I have a couple of vendors here that I'd like to get approval to pay. One's BTS, which was a change order on the chillers, a couple of valves that were bad that they found. And this is pretty much been approved, and I'm just, as far as getting the quote. What you need one?
No, it's,
Well,
not your problem.
if this is part of the chiller project, I wouldn't have to give you that 50.
Did I write the wrong one?
You got 85 for 18. I've got 1138 on this.
It would be,
Sorry, 1138.
it would be.
Should be 8950, right? Because if this is part of the chiller project, that's part of the.
It is, but it isn't. It isn't. This isn't part of its killer. Down there, this is the, it's water valves that weren't working, functioning right on the heating system that they detected when they were down there.
Poor Jones, that's,
Yeah, so this isn't about the chillers. When I said chillers, I should have maybe,
Well, so it says chiller replacement.
but it's, I know, but it's not.
So you're saying, when I put this in there and it's debris, that is the correct fund, it's not part of the Apple project under the chillers.
It's not.
It is something that they found that they were replacing it.
Where they were replacing the tillers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I put Fund 1138, 34008.
Could just fall underneath that.
Well, there might be a more question, and I,
Could I fall underneath the ARPA?
I would think it could.
I don't think so, because it's part of the overall building HVAC improvement. That's what that was.
That's fine.
And it actually says chiller.
I'm good. I'm even better with
But it
that.
was, yeah, but we allocated the money for the HVAC improvement.
There is, and I can't tell you right now, when we get claims from chiller, generator, WebEx, whatever it is, Maria's keeping a spreadsheet, and she's taking down how much has been spent of what was originally approved.
Right.
Because next month, we're going to have to do another additional for the amount that's left. So I guess the question would be, is there going to be enough left? With what is given for the chillers, just go ahead and put this in it? Okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
When they have their look to finish up this spring or summer, when Trina comes back, have they done this for that yet?
I don't believe so. There's probably.
So we'll have additional bills
Still have an
coming.
additional bill, that last one, to my understanding.
but I think it's perfectly allowable and legal for you all to approve that coming out of 8950, the ARPA money, because the chiller project had been approved as that, they had so much money up here, I know it's not all been spent. That could have been easily, just get one out of that. Now, later on, if more bills come in, and we're a little bit short because this went in there, then we have to address that then, but still would be enough in there to still do another additional or.
I'd make a motion that we pull this out of
Yeah, that leaves the money of 1138 to do whatever else you need.
So that's coming out of 8950?
Yes, just scratch off that 1138.
All right, good.
The next one is, this is an invoice for the new boiler over at the main courthouse. This invoice is the same as the quote that you approved. We need to change that out. And that I did take out of 1138.
Yeah, and that one, I think that, that was not part of
That
it.
needs to be taken.
Right. I'll make a motion to try that.
Second.
All right, motion carries.
And both these I presented to you that are done. One of the other things that I want to bring up to you is I have 3 different quotes for the generator itself, generator and transfer switch. The reason why I'm stressing that is this quote does not pertain to the installment of it. It'd be 2 separate identities. But I do have 3 for you to look over.
So none of these quotes are the installment. That's just for the generator.
It's just for the generator and the transfer switch that's required to run it. So none of these quotes are for installment. You know, hooking it up, our pad that we'll have to put out here for it. This is just for basically that equipment.
Would the installation be the same regardless of which of these equipment you choose?
Yes. Yes. I have not sought after that yet. just briefly touching it.
But there's nothing peculiar about any of these pieces of equipment that would cause installation to be significantly higher or lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Now, there is different things that can be added on to this. For one example is, and it's in these, the one it is not, the other two it is. For instance, it's going to be the location that we have picked is going to be loud when it runs. Well, you can put a silencer on it, then there's a different cost for that, you know. That'll be something that we'll have to determine when and if we choose what company. You know, there is houses over here that might not be, but
Right.
things like that. So this number that I'm giving you is just for the generator and the transfer switch. And the first one is from Fuller. Just a single page.
Well, one thing
Go ahead, Stan.
that I'd like to point out, we've had discussions about this in
Yeah.
the change committee meeting, is that in order to get these quotes, you worked with Gene.
The calculation of this generator, transfer switch, has been done by the experts, which is obviously the Deep Brain generator. And Gene Blakey has been assistant with this. I mean, Gene has been there the whole way, and he does a lot of structural work for us. This is just way too big of a job for him. But he sat in with us whole of getting us prices and things. And sizing it.
Do you have one of the last one too?
Is this just for the generator?
This is not as.
Generator transfers, it's not installing.
You have one of those fuller ones, I think, out of there. I gave mine tomorrow. Did you have three? Three of them?
I got another one.
Okay. So, this one seems a lot more. One quote, maybe.
There's another one.
Those. It's fast.
Use this one.
All right. Well, at least I can do both.
I just wanted to present these today so you can maybe look them over. And see what you thought.
Let's see what's happening now.
What do you estimate on installation?
About the same as what this is costing. 150, maybe less. You got to pour the panel. You got to run it down the alley. Connect it somehow. We got to get it down into the basement. But I don't know that. I'm just guessing. I don't know that.
And you personally met with all three of these companies.
Yes.
Has Gene also?
Yes.
Okay.
On the floor to the Empire and sales and service.
Yeah.
What size of fuel tank is that? Is that a 57 or 28 hour? Cause here they both wanna add 8,000-9,000 to change the fuel tanks.
You know what, I gave him the last copy away, but I believe that one was a 28.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't state it.
Yeah, it doesn't say, that's why I was asking.
They were told the 28. Keep in mind that more isn't really, that generator isn't going to run at full capacity and suck that down. They may say that 28 gallon runs however many hours, but it's going to run more than that because that generator isn't going to run at full capacity, full throttle.
Right.
You see,
So it's got a governor on
it's
it.
got a governor on it, so I'm going to put out whatever it's required to put out.
Sure.
And this generator here is going to exceed, I mean, you have a 2,000 amp service coming into this building. We're only using between 3 and 4 right now. So for future state of anything that you may or may not do with this building, it will run. And pick up the startup modes. That's one thing that you have to, not only will it run it, but if something kicks in, will be the startup mode, along with the UPSs.
So in the startup mode, we would have like the freezers over here, the chillers in startup modes, or I don't know what the startup mode for boilers would
This
be.
building would be totally hooked to that generator,
Yeah.
and then some if you wanted to. It's gonna run 80% of the capacity coming into this building.
Rick, is there an issue with long-term storage of diesel fuel?
Yeah, what I do with what we have now, every 2 years I swap it out.
Okay.
And that's another thing, great point. And if you go with that 58 gallon,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We're
Just more to swap out.
yeah. That 28 gallon tank is more than efficient.
Okay. So at this point, you would recommend the upgrade to the larger capacity, the larger.
I mean, total disaster, and we don't have anything for God knows when, but
Yeah.
still.
What was the runtime on the 28, you think?
I believe it is,
They refer to it by hours, 28 hour versus 57 hour.
yeah. Yeah. But again, that's running full throttle. That's running full tilt.
Okay, but then you have that also addition of the weather protective, is the Ford got that added to it?
Yeah, Fuller, if you look at Fuller, when I looked at it, they're higher,
Right.
but they didn't even really, to me, this is a non-existent quote because it doesn't compare to the specs that we have for the other two. And they're higher anyway.
But if you start adding all these add-ons on,
If
then you're,
But this one here doesn't have any of that.
that's what I'm saying, does this one have
No,
this stuff?
no. It does not. Fuller does not.
And the ad that talks about the standard weather protective to level 2 attenuated, that's the muffler system.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the neighbors don't go, shut that thing off.
I know. I live around the bank, when it starts up, it sounds like a jet engine getting ready to take off. It's very loud. Then you would think, I assume it'll run, have it all start up and run
Yeah.
weekly or bi-weekly or something.
Yeah, the one we have now runs every Monday,
Okay.
from 7 to 7:30. I run it a half hour.
So,
Yeah, it would have a startup.
so, yeah, see, that would happen every week, we would be dealing with this noise issue,
Yes.
is my point, not just in an emergency.
Yeah.
But every week, we're gonna have.
Every week, that's gonna run.
Yeah.
For however long we want it to. You're right.
So looking at this as it fits into the time frame with the power wheel, how do you see, the need for the generator or the opportunity to install the generator as it coincides with the construction we're doing right now?
Well, it's crucial because I don't know what the lead time is yet. You know, but I'd like to get this in hand and then pursue the hookup of it. I don't know how long this is gonna take. And he couldn't give me an answer Monday when I called him about this, but he tried to get that.
Do you have an estimate on what it's gonna cost to put the pad, hook up?
No, I do not. I don't. Mark asked that question. I'm presuming 100 to whatever to hook it up.
Because for the gonna take a different price for a different,
No,
that's what I'm asking.
no. It'll be the same for whatever, whichever one of these you went with, it'll be the same. Same thing, same transfer switch, different name brand generator, but it would be the same.
So the generator project and power bill, were approved as one project or two separate projects?
I think it included the sides together. It was basically all
Yeah, but
one.
Power Room project is not part of the, what, we didn't allocate that in our code.
Well,
We got a
Generator we did.
Unless generator was, unless the,
We need to look at that.
we've told Rick and Mike.
Yeah.
And Rick can help answer. If that power room includes anything to do with the generator, then it can be paid through ARPA through that.
Yeah.
Is that correct? That's what we've said.
Possibly.
But they have to, but when they submit the claim, for our purposes, it has to say 8950. So we know to take it from ARPA.
because this generator is going to feed right into that power room. It's going to hook, this is all going to,
Well, and actually the power room remodeling is, consistent with the new generator on site.
right. It is.
So,
UPSs are going in there. This is going to be hooked to. Absolutely.
So as far as this project, where we're at right now,
Rick would like to have it sooner than later.
do we need to approve one of these three bids based on
it's up to you, but you guys don't.
the specs that have been generated by Gene and
I need to review it with Rick before we approve it. So,
Make sure,
yeah, we gotta, we gotta review it and see what all the costs are
Should we
gonna be.
table this for, yeah, I make a motion, we table.
And that's what I
yes,
thought we'd do.
But I think it sounds to me like sooner than later, we need to act on it next week or within, sooner than later.
But you're gonna find out about that if the power room
Because
can
we need to get it
with our.
No, it already has. I think we just like go through the steps, but we don't want to kick the can down there very far.
And what I've done, Steve, is no matter when it comes in, and maybe the company that we hire to install it,
yeah, has he done that?
I've gotten with Brad. He's been gracious enough that we could store it down there until we can retain it back
If
here.
they're doing what they're supposed to do, then that's what we're taking.
So
Okay. He'll probably just
I wish
use
I
it.
could give you a lead time on it, but he couldn't give it to me. But he said, I'll
He
try
doesn't
to
know
get
how
you.
long it'll take to ship either.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, a little bit of, that may make a difference too, which one we choose. If one's 12 months out,
Yeah.
we can't deal with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that,
Do we have a project already lined up to put the platform down and the hookup?
No, we don't.
Are we putting the horse before the cart here?
Well, I don't think so, because I think we can get that in here. I think the generator and the transfer switch is gonna take longer to get than it will to round that up.
Okay.
It's just about like the chillers, how long they were out, you
But the
know.
two almost have to coincide with each other, don't they?
They do, but as I was stating to Steve, my backup plan for that is if we get the generator before, say, they could put the pad and stuff in, I've talked with Brad, he's been gracious enough that we could store it down in the county building down here.
until we could do it. But it would be really nice if it all just, and that's what I'll push for when I get quotes for hooking it up. Look, estimated time for the arrival of this is this. This is when we'd like to do it.
Yeah. Well, how much time do you and Mark think you need before you come back with a recommendation?
I'll talk to you here after the meeting, so
Okay.
next week.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Because as we move on with the power room and move on with the recommendation for this, the way we can keep that going. So, because I think you've been real persistent on getting things accomplished down in that hallway in that room.
I mean, this is really what the power room's about, is this generator.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, that's useless really in some sense. It's not, but we need to have this.
Yeah.
I did mention to you prior to the meeting about the roof, but I think I'll wait to maybe get an answer back from the company that gave us the quote, unless you'd like me to present it to you, but
Just so you know, the council approved $120,000. So we went ahead and did it.
that's what Rex,
Okay.
So what?
For a roof, we told them that Rick was waiting because he didn't know what the cost would end up being, but they weren't.
and we're right in that, we're right in that part of these quotes that I got. But I would like to give the company that gave us the quote last March, and we held them off, or I held them off because of the chillers and being on the road.
one from St. Henry?
Yes. I think, I've tried calling prior to coming in here today, but he didn't answer. I left a message. So I'll bring that maybe to the next meeting. Hopefully I'll have an answer and an update of his price, although the price was higher.
So to approve that, do we have to also take a look at the specs on those quotes and before we approve that?
For the,
For the roof?
yeah, we need to look at it.
But you gotta follow procurement requirements, so with ARPA, so
Okay.
you have to keep that in mind.
So,
Well, yeah, when they're again, if you two guys work together as far as a recommendation on that, so we can get that, because I'm sure those guys are booking out already for the spring and summer.
I met with him this morning, Andy. I mean, he was asking me, and I said, well, it just takes a little time here. But we
Yeah.
do want to go forward with it because what we were doing on the roof is now done. So,
Right. Okay, very good.
that's all I have unless you have anything else.
Thanks,
All
Rick.
right.
Good work. Thanks, Rick.
Did you have anything for us today?
Just a little bit. We have the end of the month report. Tony had already emailed you or gave you a hard copy of it. Everything's there, this is basically the end of the year report, but we're dealing with it today, end of the month. Next week, we will have this as well as a whole bunch of other stuff with the financial planning committee. Everything's there, everything balances. I do want to point out that in previous years, we always had a $50 petty cash in with the $500 that we keep in the office at all times. I have not touched that ever since I've been treasurer. Tom used it early in his term, and Rex used it somewhat when he was treasurer. But since we got the county credit cards, I haven't had to touch it at all. So we just wrote that into the books, and we've done away with that. Everything's there. I'll go to exhaustive detail next week with everything.
So does that fall into your petty cash policy, or does that make any difference? Definitely.
They put it back in.
We put it back into the general fund.
They brought.
So your petty cash line is zero now.
Correct. And I'm not gonna be using it. Cool. No need.
I think it's so petty.
more people lost their jobs over the sale of $500 petty cash. A lot of $1 billion worth of investments. Crazy, but it's just do without it.
But next week we'll go over all the investments and, you know, there's financial policy and investment policy and all that stuff. But as far as today, that's what I'm looking with.
Okay. Very good. Are we seeing more opportunities for investment?
We are, but I'll go over more detail next week, but yeah, things are loosening up more and more. And it's just to the point where I feel that we're to the point where I don't really want to stick my neck out too much more on anything long-term in bonds until some of our previous bonds come to term. I don't want to, right now, we can get anything over 3 to 5 years. We can go up to 20% and I'm at 17%. And that's high enough. I don't want to go anymore. Now, we could do some short-term CDs, especially with the farm property, if that comes, and I think that might be a good, I can get pretty much the same rates right now on a 1-year CD that I can with a 4 or 5 year bond, because things are a little uncertain out across the horizon a little bit. And I feel that would be the best way to go. 1 year at a time, and we're getting really good rates.
We get a motion second.
But this needs to be passed before we go on.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All right, motion carries. But that's a discussion that we're gonna have with, council approving the sale of the farm. We'll have to, get those in decide when, where, and how. And I don't know if that's something we want to do during the meeting, or do we want to have a work session on the farm?
Yeah, we probably have to get together, figure that out.
Okay.
I think it's interesting, Ed, and I've not said anything about the sale of the farm yet, but, and I don't know whether I've been at this job long enough to have an opinion, but, I'm assuming that you would tell us that all of the investments of the county are represented on this piece of paper.
All of them. No, this has, well, yeah. I don't have them itemized out, but on line 25, it's the investments of 11,486,000. But that's not itemized out, but that is the investment.
But that $11 million would not include the farm ground that we're talking about.
No,
And the reason that would not be included in the farm ground is because it's not held as a quote investment.
right. It's just an asset.
And so I guess my
guys are on it. It's fine.
the point I make is that if we were keeping that as an investment, I think this is just an indication that it's not, it falls outside of the realm of what we as a governmental entity would consider an investment.
Correct.
Where you would have it listed in your treasurer's report as an investment.
Correct.
So if the concept was that we were holding that farm ground as investment, I think it adds to the case of selling the farm ground if the assumption is it was only held as investment. If we were holding it for future use, and I think at this point the commissioners can't see that as far as we can see down the road, we don't see that as being for future county use. The only way we would retain that would be as an investment. And I think this is just kind of maybe superficial, but adds to that argument that it really isn't an investment that county government typically would have on their books.
Turning it into cash and then investing that cash.
Then it would start to show up on these
Yes,
reports,
absolutely.
and we would see it as investments.
And we could stock it away into a fund. Wherever, it's not that we can change any of that, but we can keep track of where that is, and I can keep track of the money that it earns separately.
And I think that's just a reference in county government versus personal aspirations, or how I run my personal finances. Is if I had that farm ground as an investment, I would be looking at it and considering it and looking at it as an investment. That doesn't even fall into the purview of the county treasurer's investment portfolio.
No, right.
As farm ground. That's good.
We own this building, Yeah, it's not listed on here.
And the reason we don't own it as an investment, we own it as part of county government utilized facilities. That's just my only point is I think it's, and the report just kind of helps me make it, that it's not really an investment that I think we as county government should be holding on to.
Well, and hopefully there will be a way that, I know the council has put a lot of thought into how to direct that money and protect that money. So I don't know if there will be a way also to direct and protect the interest that money earns or not. Maybe there will be, maybe there not. But
I would say set up a separate fund if possible, or
Resolution has to be changed to do what we already did.
and direct all the interest earned on that into that same fund, just roll it back into the same fund.
yeah, I think some of that was their intention.
Council talked about using rainy day fund too, which takes a special action ordinance to utilize. So I think there's ways that they
I
can.
don't know if you could do a rainy day A and a rainy day B, I don't know. Or a, potential circuit or a potential judicial building.
And that's all county council. Yeah, that's gonna be their decision.
Yeah, I didn't want to sign on to this, I just wanted to make that. It's not really an investment that we should be considering as an investment.
Right.
Yeah, very good.
So with that, the only other thing I had, and it's really up to you if you want to talk any about the Golden Meadows and where to go from here. To get some.
Let's do that in a work session.
Okay,
If that's okay.
that's fine.
Unless there's something you wanna,
I'll let you do whatever you need me to do.
we'll see if we can get that set up here, fairly quickly. So.
Okay. That's, thank you, gentlemen.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, we got two troublemakers sitting there.
You ready for us now?
Nice birds, yeah.
I don't know if I am.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna ask Ann to join us because she will be able to better explain the Decatur Municipal District and Precinct,
Okay.
since I was kind of thrown into it.
I'll be honest, I was too. I had a little bit more time to prep than Shelley.
Uh-oh.
So, good morning, good afternoon. Thanks for having us today.
So have you guys had an opportunity to review that ordinance that was prepared?
I did a little bit, I didn't look at it in a lot of detail, to be honest, yeah.
What side did you write that over?
So by law, we are required to take into account the 2020 census in looking at the population and how it has changed over the course of the 10 years to determine whether or not the current districts within the municipality remain equalized or whether or not variances among the districts required us to adjust boundary lines. This information, we knew that this needed to be done. Unfortunately, the information about population numbers, according to the U.S. Census, Adams County GIS, and the county clerk, were all different. And it wasn't until December 7th that we got those population variances reconciled. So as soon as we had a consensus about how many people actually lived within the city of Decatur, we were able to work. Ethan Snyder was great to work with. I really appreciate his assistance. He helped build an app that reactivated the population blocks within the county GIS. We were able to go in and shift boundary lines around to see how many individuals needed to be moved from District 3 into District 1 within the city of Decatur. So as soon as we had correct information, we moved. Unfortunately, that creates a time crunch for the county because moving our district boundary lines crosses a precinct line. Normally, that would not be a permissible act, but for the purposes of equalizing population, there's an exception within our statute that does allow for that. We've timely passed our ordinance, got it filed, but what that does for the county is puts everyone on notice that there's now a split precinct. So precinct 3 and precinct 1 within the county now fall, the current precinct line now falls within District 1 within the city of Decatur. And so there's a split precinct. Unfortunately, the clerk is under the gun to get re-precincting done, redrawing the boundary lines there by January 31st of this year, and essentially by January 20th because of publication requirements, or the county can elect to maintain a split district or a split precinct for this election cycle and move forward with changing boundary lines by the end of the year and working with the Indiana Election Division. Or you can simply keep the precinct line the way they are and maintain a split precinct. Traditionally, it has.
So if we adapt the redrawing of the precinct lines to where it coincides with the district lines,
Mhm.
then that's going to affect any of the candidates involved in any of the city elections.
The districts, it would not affect the candidates. It affects the clerk and how she structures the polls. There would be a section of voters that they would have to pay close attention to make sure that they're given the right ballot so that they can vote for the right candidate.
So that adds complexity to your world then.
Exactly.
How much complexity?
A lot.
I think you're up for it.
That's the thing of having to make sure that that's accurate and true, because this is also when I have to review these ballots to make sure that they are in the correct precinct. So with me discussing with Ann and with the IED, I got even more confused, to be honest with you, because I sent them what this ordinance was down to the state, and one director said, well, it looks like you can do a split, you don't really need commissioner's approval, you can just go from there. And as well as not having to have the IED and the election division approval as well. But then this other director sends me that memo saying, well, if you want to do it through this way, which Ann just explained, causes a lot more stress as far as hurrying up and trying to get this approved and getting it all done with this month. So
in addition to the complexity though, does it add complexity in managing the election itself?
moving the voters and trying to hurry up and getting their, well, we have to go down to, well, which we use as SVRS, as the voter registration type thing, to get the voters moved. Well, we have to have their okay, the cleaning up, making sure, and then when it gets to that point, then of course, whenever I'm ready to do the ballot, to make sure those voters are appropriately voting in the correct precinct. So that does create more, and for something that I have not yet having to do, yeah, it's going to be a lot of time and stress.
So, and what alternative do we have? Is there an alternative?
Mark, what's your thoughts?
I was going to say, I don't necessarily want to advise the commissioners. I apologize if I'm stepping on toes and even.
No. Whatever. I'm all ears.
From the city of Decatur's perspective, our ordinance is drafted that it is seeking approval of the county commissioners for the redistricting. So from the city's perspective, it would assist completion and finalization of our ordinance if the commissioners could approve the redistricting as it's represented within our ordinance. Outside of that, it's my understanding, and then talking with Shelley, that the commissioners essentially have three options to consider. You can either elect to move forward with redrawing precinct lines that coincide with the new district boundary lines and attempt to complete that before January 31st of this year. You could alternatively elect to accept the redistricting of the city and move forward with this election cycle in a split precinct, and then move forward with redrawing precinct lines to coincide with the district and work toward getting that done between the end of this year's election cycle and December 31st of 23. Or you can just say, we're good, we'll just stay with a split precinct from here on out and let the clerk work within that. So those are the three alternatives.
That almost sounds like the first option would be the best option for everybody if we can get it done in time.
It's
To advertise and still meet the January 31st deadline.
So
So would that be the best end result?
if we had it, it would have to be approved now. And you'd have to have that ordinance from you guys, or the order sent down to approve. I'd have to get everything done before, I have to even submit it to the newspaper to reflect the changes by the 20th.
So which of those three options are the best for you? I think option one is the best, but the question is, are you saying with, yeah, I mean, the question is,
The timeline of it
what's
is,
best is one, what's doable is the question.
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, what's our advertising window?
10 days
10
prior
days.
to the 31st. So your advertising window, you would have to have it published by January 21st, I believe.
So if they get it, assuming we get it, the ordinance drafted, so they get it back, we just have to have an ordinance that changes precinct boundary lines. And I think I forwarded maybe a copy of the most recent one we did to you.
That had annexation, it had an annexation
Yeah,
part of it.
because I went back and found the last time, it's been a while, but the last time that we did that. Because election districts are entirely different than precinct lines,
Correct.
and so we went through a process years ago with census blocks and all sorts of things. And that's the last time I think that we actually changed precinct lines, but we've done some redistricting since then for council districts, for commissioner districts.
Mhm.
So that's different, and that's what you're doing is changing your districts.
Correct.
But because you've got a district that goes over a precinct line, then you end up with that split precinct, which is a pain. But yeah, I mean, if we can get it accomplished, I would say we'll try to do it. Let's see, what's next week would be what date? Next Next would be the 17th.
17th.
So if they get it adopted on the 17th, I'm just trying to, there's some requirements on those precincts also, I think, as far as population, right? Because I know the last time we did that, we kind of ran into population issues. That really, we would just be dealing with there's 5 Decatur precincts, right? Because years ago, remember, it used to be Decatur 1A and 1B, and it was a nightmare. And so we finally went to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The number of individuals that would be affected are represented within the city's ordinance that was adopted. It affects 157 individuals that are moving from our District 3 into District 1. And that would have the same impact with that. The number of people affected wouldn't change for the county. So
We ought to be all right then.
so long as there are not, I believe it's 2,000 individuals, 2,000 active voters, not population, 2,000 active voters within a precinct, that requires that that's the magic number.
Yeah,
that you
anything
have
over
to-
2,000, they want you to have another
another
precinct.
precinct.
Right.
So
They
I
want you
don't-
over, isn't it like they want you over between 1 and 2,000? I guess they don't want you to make it so small that you're below 1,000.
Right,
They want to see you somewhere between 1 and 2.
right.
And
So I don't believe that this, because this is 157 individuals, this isn't
Yeah,
even
that should be-
157 active voters. So I don't know that it has any bearing or significant impact on how the precincts are actually.
And so you probably, are your precincts defined by streets? boundaries?
And that's represented both pictorially through a map and then defined within the ordinance. But we essentially took, for the county, District 3 on the eastern side uses 11th Street as the boundary line running north and south. And that had been a boundary line between District 3 and District 1 for the city. And what we did was shift it from 11th Street to 13th Street between Nutman Avenue on the north and Adams Street on the south. And that gave our voter population, our variance, it put it well below the 10% requirement by the state. And it kind of cleaned up our voter districts or within the city, but it is going to put a little bit of a notch in the county's precinct line.
So the purpose, in what form of approval do you need from the commissioners concerning the redistricting by the city?
Even a vote and minutes to be able to provide to the state that says that the commissioners have
Approved it.
approved it would be sufficient,
They don't need a resolution or anything?
ideally, but I don't have that prepared today.
Okay.
So,
Well, if you have one, you can send it to me, we can approve it today and then adopt the resolution next week.
okay,
But I would say, if you've got everything put together, we can just make it part of the record today, and then we can approve it, and then we can adopt, it would be good to adopt a resolution, attach it, because resolutions are a lot easier to find in the future
okay.
than trying to go back and find stuff in minutes. And besides that, I think that would be good for the clerk to have. And then the next question then would be, I'll have to do some research, and you may know by talking to, state election division, is whether or not, when the commissioners would change precinct boundary lines, whether or not we have to have published notice, have a hearing. I don't think that's necessary, but I gotta figure that out.
The publication, the statute outlines the information that is to be included within the notice of publication. Any objections, you're essentially presenting a proposed plan for the new precincts. Any objections actually get filed with the Indiana Election Division. If they don't receive an objection within 10 days, it's
Then they're finalized.
considered approved.
Okay. Yeah, and that's, I just, maybe reference that statute and everything on, look at that. I just want to make sure that we don't, just do an ordinance and change it, and then the election division says, well, wait, you were supposed to introduce that once and then have a public hearing and then pass it later and deadlines, and I don't know, but I just want to look at that.
I can forward you
Right.
the information.
I mean, for most ordinances, the commissioners can adopt any ordinance on the same day introduced, provided they all unanimously agree. But that's saying that unless some statute provides otherwise, and then a lot of statutes, say in these circumstances like bonding and raising taxes and things like that, they have a lot of extra hoops you have to go through to even adopt it. So but yeah, if you've looked at it and this is not an issue, then I would say we could probably try to get it done. Yeah, and I don't see, but everything is within the city limits, within the city of Decatur, because that's how our precincts are defined now.
Correct.
So you're not changing
Changes.
anything outside of the city limits.
So basically, just moving it. Because what this is, current one.
I'm trying to understand, I'm looking.
So this,
Maps.
black, I don't know, this black outline is the affected area. So this is the current boundary line here that runs north-south on 11th Street. And what the city did was take this out of District 3, and this is now part of District 1. And so this boundary line that had gone on 11th Street now runs north-south on 13th Street. So the adjustment for the county precinct line here would be essentially that from instead of running north-south on 11th Street between Nutman and Adams, it would run on 13th Street. That precinct 1 would be extended to the west and run from 13th Street at Nutman and to the south at Adams, and then cut back over to Adams and reconnect with 11th Street.
Your exhibit B, is that what it is now? Is that the current?
Exhibit A1
It's the current.
is the current with the affected outline, or with the affected area outline. And then Exhibit B is what's proposed. Exhibit B is what's proposed.
Gotcha. And then exhibit A1 shows the area that changes.
Correct.
What's A to Z? Exhibit A to Z. That would be the whole new District 1 then, probably.
So what's changed?
That's city ordinance, that was DS, I think, with the A.
Okay. No, but I think you, based upon, the information submitted, that copy of their ordinance and the maps, I think you can say, have a motion to, approve the city's change in districts, and at least you've got it in the minutes. We're gonna bring a resolution. And then,
I'll email Mark a resolution
Yep.
for next week.
and then we can adopt a resolution to that effect to memorialize that, and then you'll need a separate, and I think it's an ordinance, you need a separate ordinance changing the precincts.
Will this be done before we have to submit it to the paper and down to IED for actually approval?
I mean, basically, if we would use the same body of the city ordinance, is that
Will be that,
corrected to
Yeah, I think so, that's what I'm looking at now. So I think I reviewed the 2007 ordinance, which I, over that period, which, when we changed them last time. And so we've got, I'm just trying to see. Yeah, we just had attachments, we just had maps attached. So we would just do the ordinance and attach the maps and say, here they are. And then opt it, then publish. So yeah, it shouldn't be that big a deal.
I can talk with you after.
So would we have to do anything separate as far as county lines? I mean, this would take care of that.
It's all inside the city.
Yeah.
It is altering the county's election precincts, but it is consistent with those districts in the city of Decatur. Because the Board of Commissioners establishes the precincts, all the precincts in the counties, which we got, what, 27 now or 29?
26, I believe.
26.
Would that affect any of the current precinct committeemen or any of those people that may be moved into a different precinct?
It shouldn't.
It should, yeah, it
Because
should.
they're appointed now.
Yeah,
And now, when they go to run again, if a precinct committee person, if they have to live in the precinct. But most precinct committee people don't run, they're appointed by the chairman. Very few of them actually run, some do.
So would we need a motion to,
Just need a motion to approve the city's redistrict of their city Decatur election districts.
And Mark, I'll have a resolution on it next.
So there's second memorializing. Yep. So the next week, and can get me a resolution and draft, and we'll put it in form for you. By resolution, we will approve the city's election districts as amended. So we got a record of it, and then by ordinance, you'll change the precinct boundary lines, just in the city of Decatur.
Okay.
I think that's the way to do it.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, that's gonna be the best end result.
Happy 2023.
The 2023.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Mark?
Yeah, this is actually comes from City of Decatur, so this is our approved animal control agreement. Thank you. So, just need to have this approved, the city's approved it, and this is the county's signatures and approved. Interlocal animal control agreement, or animal shelter agreement rather, which includes animal control, so it's animal care and control. So this covers animal shelter facilities and then also the animal control officer. And that's $10,200 annually. And I just need commissioners to approve the agreement. So we're going to the other, okay, motion carried and so I sound comments. So this won't be the last one. Yeah, it's simply putting in writing what we've already been doing. We've been doing that for the last year in 2022.
And I think in my discussions with the city, if we kind of keep track of the animals through spinners and where they pick them up, and if we need to update that, we can update it.
Yeah, I talked to Jenny about that.
You sent them a new form.
Yep. Yeah, so maybe on a quarterly basis, if we could try to figure out, or send them some data.
I think they have been attaching to the thing, the locations they put banners up and that stuff. And I think you had sent them and said, this is a new form you're gonna have to use starting this year to better track it.
Yeah, because we need to know in city or outside of the county.
But like you said, it could be a Decatur address.
Yeah, yeah, you can't do it by Decatur address. That's, county.
Mark, have you forwarded one of these to the town of Monroe for them to consider? Or do I need to take one of these to the town of Monroe?
I sent one to Deb Burkhardt, but I'm not sure.
I can, if you need more information, I can pull some information. And because I have never met with.
Okay. My plan is to go and meet with them.
Yeah.
At
We
their
can do that.
which would be.
I can put one together. I'll look and see. I can't remember if I did.
Because it was based on calculations that Springers gave me, and we kind of did as a group to divide it out by percentage.
Yeah, if you've got something you could send me that I can speak to the town of Monroe.
I think I have that also where Mark had said that letter to the cities and towns.
Yeah, that was back in 21. But
I have it somewhere.
yeah, I have it all. But yeah, no agreements were sent to Bern and Geneva also.
So. Okay. Very good.
And I don't know if that's anything you want to take care of now as far as moving ahead with the sale of county land, as far as setting up a work session, or you want to just do that? I can get together with Brooke sometime maybe.
Yeah, we need to find a good time.
Find a good time to do that, yeah. The notice of sale for that surplus property, that was the property there on off of 12th Street by the railroad track. And so that is scheduled for January the 24th, so that'd be 2 weeks from today, I guess. So we've got one bid in. And when the rest of the deadline? There's the 24th, or the 24th. Yep, it's been advertised. Notices have gone out.
Okay.
And the last thing I had was, well, I've got a couple things. I've got, here's the appointment for Steve as a member of the Geneva Board of Zoning Appeals. And that's for January 1, 23 through December 31st of 26. I think he's willing to serve. It's too late. Just need a motion to, I'll make that point, Steve.
I'll second that.
Need to have that signed.
Before he gets away. That's signed in 2 places, I met him.
Tony, can I get a copy of that? Take it with me.
Yeah, as soon as
I did that tonight.
yeah, as soon as you sign it, we'll make sure we get you a copy for your later. Last thing I need to do is.
Did I sign it 2 places here?
I need to apologize. I was working on a list for the press here at last meeting, because they needed a summary of the appointments that you made, and I was using an old list that we had from, it was, Oliver's list, and so we were deleting things and going back and forth, and there was one on the list that you did not take action on. That was the Sonowatta Conservation District appointment, because you did not take action on that because you had not received a recommendation yet for that appointment. So, which listed Sandy Wolverine as being reappointed, and that was not the case. So that was an error, and that was my fault. I was trying to put a list together, and I forgot to take that name off the list. So that was my fault.
Well, we had an awful lot of appointments, and I think things were moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
With you listening back and forth from your office to kind of make corrections and.
And we did not have one of those forms for that appointment. It wasn't discussed, it wasn't voted on, it was just, it was on the list, and when I was putting together a list of, it was on the list of all the animals, and I just didn't catch it, and I apologize because that was printed and that was not accurate, but that was my fault, because I'm the one that I gave them the list. They put it wrong, that I gave them. So, but it was my error.
We could put that whole list together and so.
Thank you, Strap.
We will move on from there and do the right thing.
All right, so I think that's it for right now. We need to, I want to review this generator project though with Drake.
Not sure if it has the animal shelter.
All right, good.
Do we need to approve this or? That's in our budget. I think we need to approve that separate.
So, here's that notice to receive bids. Did I sign that form for you, Tony?
Or no?
I know you gave it to me. I don't know if I did it or not. It was appointment form? Yes. Yeah, you did. I did sign it. Okay. Yep.
Okay, anything else, Mark?
No, that's it.
Okay, I had a couple of things. These are quotes from the IT director. And one is for an amount of block time of $100 at $175 an hour that he uses for outside work. And that is from Innovative Integration. And so that quote is for $17,500. And he is going to take that out of Fund 1,000, 38,300, 000.9600. So, and he has typically used that for when he has to bring in outside work too.
And does that fund have money in it to cover that, Stan, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Make a motion.
I can pull it up here and see.
I'll just need this copy. Motion approved.
Okay. Motion carries. Tony. And we're going to have, quotes for 5 Aruba power supplies, 4 that need to be replaced, and 1 that they keep down there as a spare. And also another 2 power supplies. And so that is for $3,162.19. These are all coming out of the same line item. Also for a new transceiver and also for 1 new, I'm not very good at decoding these reps. A Mac SEC module for $736.59. So you can take a look at those as you want. And so, but we reviewed them in the
Stan?
Yeah.
That 17,500, I don't know that you need to approve it separately because it's going to be in the claim cycle on the 18th because I've already checked it in. It's already been entered.
Okay.
See, let me show you. Ooh, plugged in. See where my mouse is right there? Innovative, 17,500, he's already submitted the
He's
claim.
already submitted the claim, okay.
So if he submitted the claim, that probably means I already have the invoice, everything with it. You'll be approving the claims whenever that cycle for these.
So we'll be approving it as a claim rather than.
Right, rather than separately like this, it's already in here.
Would that apply to these as well?
Let me see the amounts on those, and I'll see if they're in there.
He wanted to do them all 3 together, I would not total up all 3 invoices.
Calculator. I just remembered when you were saying that, it jogged my memory. I said, that sounds familiar. $49.71.37. Here's this one back. $49.71.37. Actually, just look at the console. CX. I don't think these are ages. And I would not think that he would have 2 of those in the very same amount. Yeah, one headed that way and one in here.
Rex, there was this 1 block of hours, wasn't there, that he was looking to approve? Yeah, 100, block of $100.
There would be another fee for $17,500.
Because he's got this one as a block. This one as a quote, but then he's also got one submitted as a
And
claim.
he's already submitted in the doc record as a claim. We have a set to pay on the 18th claim cycle.
Same. Yeah, it should be the same.
I would imagine.
Sometime before next month. Well, yeah, we can sure bring it up.
That could be a question between Mark and you.
Yeah.
What's that? The pickleball court that they approved, the council approved, the pickleball court at Riverside Center, out where the sand volleyball thing is now. They approved that along with Park and Rec County Parks and Fitness Center. They approved all of that. And these guys' question is, can the council approve that pickleball thing without it going through the commissioners?
Well, the thing I asked council this morning, I said, to me, it seems like a good idea. Just like when we had the chiller project, the power project, the generator project, it was infrastructure and so we felt like that was kind of in our court. Whereas anything like, say, when the library applied for premium salary, that was definitely in our court. But the one thing I asked him this morning was, if there are requests that come to them directly, so such as this morning when they had ARPA requests for the Parks Department, I asked that if it involved infrastructure, that those requests would also come before us. So that was kind of.
Well, it's, most of those are still it's still a two-part process. The council has to appropriate the funds for spending, but the project, the work, has to be approved by the commissioners. So you're in charge of them completing the project and doing whatever bidding may be necessary to hire contractors and get the work done, especially if it's going to be work on county property. The pickleball court is actually a Decatur project.
It got a little bit weird because in the one request that they approved, part of it was for the covered bridge, which is county property, and part of it was for renovation of the sand volleyball courts at the city. So it was kind of all wrapped up in one. So
I think the implementation of that project comes down to the commissioners. You still have to, you've got funds appropriated, but I think it's still up to the commissioners to decide, okay, the council's appropriated the funds, but do we want to do these projects? And if you say, no, we don't want to do them, you don't do them.
yeah.
Because they are projects. I mean, it wasn't an appropriation to, transfer money to some other entity. It was appropriation to do a project.
Yeah.
And so the decision whether to do the project or not to do the project, how to do the project, when to do it, how to do it, all those things go on to the commissioners.
And some of the requests that have come forward involve infrastructure, but not on county property, such as, when they approved the money for rewiring Geneva Town Hall. So, that was outside of our infrastructure. And so
Would the pickleball court be outside of that too? Because that actually is that's a Decatur project. Not the county, that's
on behalf of the Parks Department. So that's
where
what
they have county parks.
yeah. So we're kind of getting into a gray area.
Now, the county parks is Lone Grove and Covered Bridge, right? Well, county parks, no, we've got. And all separated between county and. Well, there's still a county park department, and there's still county park programs that take place, So no, I don't have a dog in the fight, it's not up to me, but if the council just approved that, I guarantee you, Joe and the pickleball folks can't run away thinking, okay, cool, we got what we want, we're going to start on, so somebody's going to be contacting them quick if you change your mind. Yeah, I mean, that was what the thought, the gray area is with the Parks Department, because we've got, we've got a county park budget, we've got a city park budget, so the question is, where's the money? Okay, where's the money being transferred? Is it going to be transferred to the city? Okay, well, then the city needs to make sure that they follow ARPA procurement guidelines for the use of ARPA money. So that's part of the problem with all this ARPA money, is just Would that be similar, everybody's just, would it be similar to the sewer district, because the sewer district is not actually, I mean, we had to go through a few things to give them the 1.5 million. Would that be similar to this, where,
Could be, yeah, and
we would have to make sure we
went through a process to, well, they were actually a sub-recipient of ARPA funds, so
so I guess that's what I'm saying, like, is this similar where
it may be,
I think it'd be a
it's the
similar?
first I heard about it, so I gotta talk to Julie Marie and,
Yeah, Julie Marie,
I mean, there's a lot of,
I wasn't the first one to get the pickleball stuff, Julie Marie was, they went to her, and then she sent it to me, and then,
I'm just hearing about it, so I need to.
I was kind of surprised too that they came for county ARPA money, when didn't Decatur also have ARPA?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah. So anyway,
and I think they said something about that, those guys, or Jeremy might have mentioned that in some capacity. But I'd have to ask him, I think he brought it up, and I can't remember what he said about it. I don't know.
yeah, well, the problem is, so you start handing out ARPA money and you approve it for all these different things, and, but you gotta remember, there's some procurement guidelines, and, if they do an audit, and they come and they say, okay, well, where's your bids? Okay, well, we gave it to Decatur. Where's their bids? And Decatur says, well, we didn't get any. Where did the money come from? The county. Well, and that's why we had a resolution between the commissioners and the sewer district that said, you will follow, we're gonna give you this money, but you will follow the procurement guidelines. And so, and they did, and we noted it because they got competitive bids, which is the guidelines. And so that's where you gotta be careful with ARPA money.
Can you give the jewelry, then look all that over, discuss that with her and see? Because they did tie all that in together. I think Fred made, well, I want to put this and this and this all together, and this.
They put the whole 339,000 together.
Well, I can guarantee you this, I guess you could probably, if, I would doubt that if 80% of the jurisdictions receiving ARPA funds are actually complying with the guidelines that ARPA has when it comes to spending, they're not doing it. So, it should be.
I don't know how, but they're not. We don't know how close they when they do the audit.
So somebody,
You never know the federal audit, we don't know how, well,
Yeah, if you talk to Julie Marie and see what we need to do, but it'd be nice if it falls in our lane, if they would come and.
Yeah.
and that's what it should be, it should go to both bodies.
Yeah.
Unless it's strictly financial, that's it.
Cause you're right, cause they walked out of here thinking,
But they really think we have what we want. Yeah, they might already be ordering the asphalt for it.
Well, let me see what was done. So,
Down there, the council. Yeah, what about your understanding of that's supposed to do that? That was your, I mean, you were there, that was your understanding of what happened, right? They got away thinking, we're gonna start a project now.
It's true. It sure does seem like it should go to the commissioners first before it ever goes.
But they're in charge of infrastructure, buildings and stuff, but they do that, and then it goes to council for the funding. This just kind of went backwards.
we each need to stay in our own lanes, it's just the problem is Rex is changing lanes without using his blinker.
Rex merged. You never put a new state law and not use them turn signals. That's a problem. We thought he was still a commissioner, and he said, wait a minute.
We're not afraid to throw somebody under the bus.
So you guys will go after you guys.
Alright. Well, yeah, if you talk to Julie Marie and see what.
At the very least. And you kind of said that to council this time about staying in the lane, so to speak, and I mean, we've already heard it.
The pipes had already left when that all came out.
Yeah, they definitely thought they had to turn the approval, they were to start, and that's it. I guarantee it.
Do they have a surprise?
Yeah, well, if the county's appropriated funds and they've authorized the use of those funds by another entity that is the executive, then that may be the case, but that's what I gotta sort out. And it was all done under one, county bridge, that's, you have control over that county bridge project. So you are the lead agency on securing bids and doing that work. What was that that's on the bridge? The covered bridge is a county park. Right? That's what Jeremy was referring to, it's a county park. He wanted to put some equipment and so forth there, as well as improving the bridge. And Road Road too. And Lynn Grove is in there. The fitness center was included. Mammoth Parks and the Jared, Fred threw into the motion the pickleball court, and also threw in the county park and rec, fitness center, that whole kit and caboodle all over. Actually, yeah, there were 3 different things from park and rec, and then the pickleball. This was the request that Jeremy had sent to the lawyer. I don't know if they includes it. And then they threw that pickleball court in on top of that. Well, and the whole thing, the pickleball court was really the only one on the agenda today. Yeah. The rest of the stuff we brought up, because it was stuff from back in August that had been presented and never happened. So, pickleball presented their thing, Jeremy was here to present everything. Then they threw the other stuff in there, the other ones, so let's just do it all together. Pickleball is everyone on the agenda.
Had the commissioners heard previously about the covered bridge work?
I don't know if Jeremy or myself sent that to the commissioners as well as not, I don't know. But today is the first time that the council actually acted on it. And I think if that was part of the August, when all these requests, when Jeremy went through all these requests for ARPA funds in August, Commissioner Griffin said it all together. They should all have been mentioned. If it was a council meeting, you guys would have been here and heard all those requests.
And I think that's fine, but if those requests need council action, they need to come, or commissioner action, they need to come to a commissioner meeting. I don't think they can infer commissioner approval just because the commissioners are sitting over here when it comes to council. I don't think that's fair. So commissioners, I know but you don't feel comfortable getting into a discussion with a presenter for council about the appropriateness of it being presented. That's the council's view.
I think sometimes council, well, I shouldn't say county, sometimes the fact that the 3 commissioners are here for those council meetings, it kind of becomes inferred that,
Yes, has council
and that's not the case. You guys don't have to be here. Yeah, during the council meeting, you just.
And I don't think we can take, I know we can't take action
No,
as commissioners during that council meeting.
by all rights, the infrastructure that would have been approved at the council meeting, they should have come here to this meeting.
Agreed.
We got permission for the funding, how can we do it?
It may just be a little misconstrued with this whole ARPA thing. Yeah, let's go see if we can get some ARPA money to do this, and then they forget, well, I better go ask commissioners for approval.
Yeah.
First, or also, in my mind, it's first, but.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you checking into that, Mark. All right, and I had a discussion with Jeremy too, so, you guys have studied that much more than the rest of us have, so. Have we checked into anything as far as the lots at Merritt Center? I've just tried to get a hold of the city. I know they want to meet. I know that Mayor and
think Koshar wanted to get with me on that, so I'm trying to set up a meeting.
Okay.
Ready. Okay, anything else, man? No, all right. Shirley?
I don't have anything today.
Good.
You're welcome.
Share something up. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
I moved to adjourn.
Wait, I ask anything from general public? From the sheriff's department, you're representing the sheriff here.
They,
Moved to adjourn.
Second. Moving adjourned.